How has Berry's work impacted you? Uh, I read my first Wendell Berry short stories in 1995, and it changed my life. I was very taken by the nobility and reverence that he lends to hard work, which at the time I was almost a full time theater carpenter, um, and I just was really taken with his point of view and his common sense. Um, I come from a farming family as well, and so it all just made a lot of sense to me. And it took me some years. I started writing him letters asking if I could adapt some of his work, to which he said no. But he's always been friendly, and I got to help produce a documentary about him called Look and See, which is a wonderful movie. Um, and it's just served as a great signpost. Uh, if there's a right and a wrong path, I feel like reading his works keeps helping me figure out the right path to stay on. Out of his works, what is your favorite piece Berry has written? That's a really tough question. He's so prolific. I mean, if you just take his essays or his poetry or his fiction, he's written a lifetime worth of either any one of those three genres. Um, I started with his fiction, and I think as a person who works in narrative, storytelling, I'll stick with his fiction. And that one of the first stories I ever wrote is called Fidelity. I'll just pick that. I love the way all of his stories and his novels weave together into one massive tapestry, the story of the fellowship of the Port William families and the town, across the generations. It's just gorgeous. But the story Fidelity is as good as anything. I'm crazy about that story and the book that it's in. What is your favorite part of narrating? Uh, you know, it's it's when you don't. It's like reading a story to a kid or some kids, but they don't happen to be there. But even so, you kind of imagine them. You're. I feel like I'm reading to the kids in my head, and no matter what the material is, it's taking some writing that I think is great, whether it's Mark Twain or, stories, or this, um, and it's trying to render that beautiful writing to people listening that wouldn't otherwise be able to catch it. So there is a little bit of fun. There's a little bit of curation where it's up to me to decide the pace and the tone and how to present it. So it's like a little piece of theater in your brain. How does narrating differentiate from acting, or in what ways do you find they overlap? Uh, Narrating a book is pretty different from acting. When I'm acting, first of all, um, narrating, you can experience my work with your eyes shut. But when I'm acting, I'm creating a whole visual story package, as well as audio. And in that instance, I'm inhabiting a character. And so if I was performing Tom Sawyer for you as an audio book, I would be trying to render as a narrator what someone has written, what Mark Twain has written. And so I'd be trying to describe it so that you could see it in your imagination. But if I was acting a role in Tom Sawyer, I would be trying to realistically inhabit a character, say Aunt Polly, um, in a very believable way as part of the story. So the narrator, there's an omniscience to it. There's a sort of overview where I'm relaying what the actors, as they would would appear if it was a piece of theater. I'm telling you what they're doing, and if I was the actor, I'd just be one of the ones doing it. How do you prepare to narrate a novel? Um, I read the book. Ideally, I read it twice because there's a big difference. You know, I've been a professional performer for 30 some years, and when I first started doing audiobooks, I thought, oh, this will be easy. That's what I do is perform. I get to sit in a chair or stand at a music stand. But you should try this. I highly recommend you try this. Take a book and just try and read it well for 5 minutes. It's really hard. I was blown away the first time I did it by how much energy you have to put in to try and meticulously deliver all the language effectively as you think the author would want it delivered. And then you do a whole long book. Suddenly, it's an incredible amount of work. So the way I mainly prepare is like I'm preparing for an athletic event where I make sure my voice is in good shape. I have different kinds of tea at the ready, and so forth. A life hack is if you slice up a green apple, there's a kind of acid in that apple that activates your salivary glands. So when your apparatus starts to get dry, snack on some green apple. What are some of your in-studio must-haves? Green apple. What are your thoughts on the Need to Behold central themes, given that patriotism and prejudice are at the heart of some of today's most divisive political issues? I'm not going to answer that question. My answer to that question is that I'm grateful to writers and thinkers like Wendell Berry for creating this incredible body of work to help reason out where we've gone wrong and where we might go right and where we might seek out the work that is the good work that needs doing. That's what I've always loved about his writing, is it answers the big questions of life. What am I doing here? What am I doing with myself? Am I worth a damn? And the answers to those questions I find in his writing. Take care of my family. He says it all turns on affection. Find where I can treat my life and my work and my community with affection, and not with negativity. I try to be inspired by him to make things rather than destroy things, or to love people rather than despise people, whenever possible.